Welcome to the Conquer Your Battlefield podcast, where we come together to discuss some of our more significant struggles and metaphorical battlefields that we faced along our journeys and share some insight on how we've conquered them. I'm JD McGibney, and today I'll be chatting with the mighty, the moosey, the hilarious, funny, and endlessly loving Matty J. Moose. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, especially after that intro. How could I be anything less than good after an intro like that?
Well, you're amazing. How could I not give you an intro, anything less than that?
I'm only as amazing as you intro me, bro.
Oh, shucks. Today, we're going to be talking about confidence. This term is thrown out a lot in regards to encouraging people to take action where they might feel a bit of hesitation. As adults, it almost feels as though confidence is something we should be carrying around in our back pocket and take out when we need it. When talking about teens and young people, we tend to use the term self-esteem instead. There's a lot of talk about self-esteem in schools to try and deter kids from bullying one another, or to teach kids to stand up for themselves, be creative, try new things, and overall just believe in themselves. From my own personal experience, confidence and self-esteem have been things that I've struggled with for pretty much as long as I can remember. Looking at some statistics from the Self-Esteem School, about 85% of the world's population struggle with self-esteem issues in some way, which when you think about it...
And the other 15% are lying about it.
Probably. And if you think about it, that's an insane number. That's almost the entire population has some sort of struggle in some way at some point with confidence and self-esteem. So our self-esteem and confidence levels can be affected by a number of factors ranging from internal to external. Whether we're struggling with anxiety, depression, or we happen to be in an environment that is not supportive of us, either in home, in our social groups with our friends, or even our workplace. Matty, you happen to come off as one of the most confident people I happen to know in my entire life. How is it that you approach the idea of confidence, and how does it help you maintain control over your self-esteem?
Well, thank you. It's tough to, in order to answer that question, I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't point out the difference, or at least try to explore the difference between confidence and self-esteem. Because in many situations, I have confidence, and in many other situations, I lack confidence. And sometimes even when I do feel confident about something, before or even after the fact something's done, self-esteem may vary. I mean, there are times when I can be very confident, say, performing. I spoke with you earlier, and we kind of narrowed it down, at least the way that I look at confidence, 3 different perspectives that I have on confidence in my own personal life.
So before I move forward, when you say you broke it down into 3 different perspectives, is it it's confidence as a whole and there's 3 categories, or is it 3 different types of confidence?
I'm kind of like, I'm looking at the same thing as just being sure of myself, having less reservations about doing a certain thing or saying a certain thing or acting a certain way, that change depending on the situation. And in that way, I like to use that word perspective. I'm looking at the same thing, but from different angles at it. For me, personally, 3 different types of confidence that I have in different situations, like I said, in different environments with different things that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Confidence can be very high, confidence can be very low. It's not just one thing rolled up. I think a lot of people roll it and lump it into one big category and say, well, I'm not very confident. I wish I had that confidence.
Like, I definitely agree with that statement, very much so.
I'm very confident when it comes to talking to people. I've always been an extrovert before I even knew what the word extrovert meant. I think the first time I heard that,
be a testament to that one.
I know you know. We've been friends long enough that I know you know. I think the first time I heard the difference between introvert and extrovert, I was like, that's me. Like, very clearly, sometimes people are very able to label themselves as something and dwell on that, where other people are like, oh yeah, I'm an introvert, and they can wear that like a badge and be like, oh, that's why
It's
better
so
by myself
crazy.
and I don't like talking in crowds and this and that. I'm a this or I'm a that. Like that is a label I've always stuck to
Dude, it's so crazy how like, the study of psychology has like all of these different ways to category like personality types that like they have like a specific term to like, portray like a behavior that like it's so clear when you finally see like an actual scientific study explaining your life behavior. It just feels like like something clicks, and at the same time, you kind of realize, hey, I'm not the only one who feels like this. It means there are other people like me, and I think that's a very unique and very, like, I guess, freeing kind of feeling.
Absolutely. There's I don't like looking at anything anymore through a polarized lens.
Mm.
And I've been trying really hard. And this doesn't necessarily, this is just as an aside before I talk about the different perspectives of confidence, which I want to stay on track because as JD knows, I can ramble for hours about many different things. I have my own stream for that. I try not to look at anything polarized anymore in a Boolean sense where something's black or white or on or off. Like the more that we can dial things in, and it takes energy to do that. It takes mental energy, and sometimes it takes confidence itself to say, hey, maybe
Yeah,
this isn't so this way or that way. And
especially when
even
you're
by
talking about
suggesting that, you might
people.
be singling yourself out and you might not have the confidence to be able to do that socially.
Yeah, and
So
that's
yeah,
a great
exactly.
perspective to have when you're not looking at things in a not polarizing way, because especially when you're dealing with people, there are so many different personality types, and every single one of us is a unique individual. You can't look at things in a polarizing way. You and I,
I mean,
born and
it's
raised.
easy to, but we shouldn't.
Yeah, like you and I are born and raised on Long Island. There's a lot of things we have in common, but then
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that we have like completely, like different. But at the same time, it's like you and I learn to love each other because of those differences and because of those similarities, because of how unique that we are as individuals.
It's true. So just getting into that, I mean, as far as analyzing the different perspectives of confidence, I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, the different perspectives of confidence that I can absolutely say. Oh, we're talking about being extroverted. That's the first
Yes.
one I was going to talk about is
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
social. There are times, believe it or not, when I'm very introverted, when I'm very quiet
Really.
and sheepish to speak up. The very first
The
example.
moose is a sheep.
Bah. Well, what sound does a moose make? No, really, that's the sound a moose makes. But when I was in college, uh, I faced a lot of new, a great lack of confidence, a shortage, a deficit, if you will, of self-esteem. Because in high school, I seemed to breeze through any kind of test, any kind of homework. I was hitting straight A's and B's all through high school, and I went to engineering school, and all of a sudden I was a C student at best,
Wow.
where studying hard and working hard to get a B minus was considered a victory for me. And being surrounded by those kinds of people that made it look so easy put me in a situation where observing the factual statistical differences of where I was compared to other people in that kind of competitory sense of classmates, I was not quick to raise my hand and ask questions and crack jokes and talk to people. I felt like the odd man out. Whereas in a band sense, I love talking to strangers. Come up to the merch booth. I run the merch booth. I'll sell you a shirt. I won't. I don't care. We're gonna shoot the shit. I'm gonna talk online. I'm gonna talk to crowds of people. I enjoy that. I enjoy talking to strangers. So it's very different levels. It's not always a 100% thing. So that's what I wanted to say with the polarization of it.
I got a
But when it
question.
really, yeah.
But since we're like near the topic of you being in college, when you did you stay that way all throughout college, or did you gradually become more and more confident as you went along?
I gradually became more outgoing without becoming more confident. Does that make sense? I became
Interesting.
more more in the realization. I had a professor once tell me, when you leave, get everybody's phone number. Make sure you network with everybody. Make sure you network with the best students in the class and the worst students in the class, because someday, you never know, it doesn't matter how good anybody is at their job to be able to get a job somewhere else.
You never know who anyone is, who they know, or who they're going to be.
Exactly. And it was a very like aha moment, very three-dimensional forward thinking. And when he followed it with, it's like, all you A students that are getting 98s, 99, 100s, don't think that your bosses are going to promote you. Someday these C students are going to be your boss, because your boss is going to want you performing exactly where you are and going to get that C student who has better social skills up above you in a higher paying job. So be nice to those kids and the C students. I was like, yes. In the back of my head.
That is a really
and then I joined a band.
Fantastic. So. And then you invented Psychostick, the store that physically goes with you everywhere that you go. But that's a great perspective. The fact that, like you have, the DC and like B students, they're not the best at doing the task, but like your professor said, they're the ones who most likely are more social, and they have the better social skills. So they are the ones who are able to run a team. They have enough understanding of the task at hand to be like, okay, this needs to get done. This needs to get done. This person can do this. This person can do that. And they have they have a general idea of what has to get done, how fast it'll take, and all that. But the actual doing of the task is going to go to the people who are getting like the A's and A pluses.
Yeah, the other C and B students had families. They had other things that they were doing. Maybe they played a sport. Maybe they were going on vacation more often. They had more of a social life. All those A students were either fucking really weird or assholes or both. I can't say all. That is an overgeneralization, but that's just for the sake of convincing an argument right now. Yeah. But I do want to talk about my perspectives on confidence. So perspective, looking at this from a different angle. The three that I had mentioned before was a social setting. I feel very confident. I love talking to people. I'm very extroverted. I love learning about people. I don't mind speaking in front of many people. I like to try and bring people together. That's my idea when I'm speaking in front of a lot of people. It makes me happy knowing that they're listening to me, that I'm sharing even a sliver of a group of people's time, because it's something we can all have in common, even if it's just listening to me babble. And that gives me confidence. A second way that I can think about confidence, and that being creatively as well, that socially, creatively, what is that, right brain? Left brain? I always forget.
I think left brain is, creative is right, I think.
Okay.
Creative is left, because right-handed people are in the left state of mind, and left-handed people are in the right state of mind.
If you say so. The creative half, you know what I mean? Very much the creative half. I like being open. I like trying different things. Musically, I like sitting down and playing a song a few different ways, a few different times, recording it a few different times, trying this, trying that. It's okay. I have that musical confidence, and music in a large part has helped me gain that creative confidence, where when I first started playing music, a lot of it was tied to my identity. It was like, this is who I am. I am a guitar player, which is funny because now I play bass, which is what I'm going for. But listening to these old recordings that I have, I used to be so proud of these, and now I listen to them, I'm like, that was garbage. Even now, I can record something, feel really good about it, go back, go to sleep, wake up the next day and be like, this is going to get redone or whatever. And that's okay. I don't have a lot right on that. I'm not going to be judged by it like I was in school. I'm not.
Yeah, kids
grading that.
That, and just like kids in general, like teenagers can be like really like harsh in their judgment of their peers. So that's another thing.
Yeah. Competition's a month. Can I curse? Is that?
Yeah, you can curse all you want.
Competition's a motherfucker. Competition can motherfuck you right to the top or right to the bottom.
And it's crazy too, because like there's two different like competitive mindsets. There's like competition to like, squash the competition and fuck the other guy, or there's like friendly competition where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna like have fun with my friend and we're just gonna be like, let's just keep going to better ourselves. But it's meant to be like like an exercise for both of you, and it's not you both realize that you're both like neither of you is better or worse than the other. You're just trying to like better your skills.
I completely agree. And what's interesting, especially in a musical sense, I've collaborated with many different people, not just with Psychostick. And it's so interesting to me how people can get so ingrained in one or the other. How if you're trying to create with someone on a competitive scale, and one person is in that I'm gonna crush this fucking song, and the other one is like, let's just have fun with it.
It's not gonna work.
Are you in for a ride, buddy?
That
Good
doesn't
luck.
work.
Both of you are gonna be pissed off and frustrated at the end of it if you don't
God.
know which zone you're in with that. So
that's why you gotta have a conversation with people going into stuff. It's like, all right, this is where I am. Are you on this page? Are you willing to be on this page? Where are you? Am I willing to be on that page?
That I am so guilty, and just now, 20 years into playing music with other people, I'm just realizing that, which I think of all the bullshit that could have been avoided in my life creatively with different people if we just talked about that beforehand. Like, well, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to make a finished, polished product for sale to put our names and our egos on the line, or are we just trying to smoke pot and have fun? And there's times where we've done one and completely neglected the other, and the other person doesn't know that. It's like just having that little bit of communication when you start any kind of creative endeavor with another person.
Dude, it literally makes all the difference.
Creative conversation with yourself. That's tough. Sometimes people think like, oh, you talk to yourself? That's weird. I was like, nah, dude, it really helps. Sit down and really communicate with yourself.
That's something they tell you to do, like with if you're having hard times, like, and you go to see a therapist, oftentimes exercises that they'll give you is to like, say stuff out loud, or they'll tell you to talk to yourself, like look at yourself in the mirror and have like affirmations, and just say things. This way you can hear the thoughts coming out. You can see yourself saying it. You can visualize whatever it is that you have in your head. That's what
and
you
can
do.
Tell when you're full of shit.
Oh my God.
It's easy to convince yourself that you're right, but if you're looking at yourself dead in the eye and saying something, you know damn well that you're full of shit when you say something. It's just whether or not you're going to ignore it.
And then you see the look on your face. You're like, nah.
Yeah.
But there's something that I'm noticing through like you sharing your stories and like your point of view, is that even with instances where you were out of your element, you felt like that lower confidence level, you still had the sense of the sense of confidence, a sense of self-worth. It sounds like, where you had enough faith in your abilities and yourself to find a way to become confident.
Well, I think a good part of that. Well, thank you. It's a nice thing to say, but to be completely honest, a lot of that, looking back on specifically that college experience, I think a lot of it was defense mechanism.
What do you mean?
Just to be able to say like, okay, yeah, that guy, he's not watching. I can say it. There was a dude I went to school with.
We'll just say this guy. We don't need to say his name.
This dude, right?
This dude.
He was like top of the class, right? He was in perfect physical condition, right? Muscular dude, always well kept, nice clothes. He was a martial artist, He spent all his free time in the car club or whatever it was. Just absolute top of his class, very talented, always studied, always knew the answers. He was just like this poster child for the university. And whenever he kind of condescended me or somebody else, I always thought to myself, like, yeah, but I'm living my life. Like, this guy doesn't seem like he has any fun. Like, his sort of life to attain that higher, those bars and shatter those things and be the best, that kind of competition, I didn't give a shit about. I was just trying to get my degree. I didn't give a fuck. Like, he genuinely wanted to be the best at everything, where I just kept thinking, well, does he hang out with his girlfriend and blow out, blow off doing homework one night to go have fun? Does this guy get invited? Does this guy get invited to parties? Does this guy drive across a few states on a whim to go see a cousin or a friend, or just do something and say, you only live once, This is pretty YOLO. This is before YOLO was a thing. You know, does this guy ever YOLO? Probably not. You know what I mean? So I just, as a defense mechanism, it's just like, yeah, I'm not as good or as smart or work out as much or as disciplined as he is, but, you know, at least I have fun. At least I whatever, you know? So was that a healthy thing for me to say? Maybe, maybe not. But am I an engineer now? No. Is he an engineer now? I have no idea because I didn't keep in touch with him because I didn't like him.
I don't think the comparative aspect of it was healthy, but I do think you finding your place and recognizing what made you happy and you recognizing the path that you were on and that you wanted to be on. I think that was healthy because it led to you doing things that you wanted to do. And it sounds like it definitely helped you raise that self-confidence and helped build, you know, your belief in yourself to be like, you know what, I can do what I can do. And I'm, you know, it is what it is, but I'm going to move forward. And I think that mentality is something that, you know, a lot of people struggle with as well, where it's like, people get caught up in that whole comparative thing where, like you said, you had this valedictorian,
it's so
you know,
easy to
Stepford husband,
so easy to compare
guy.
yourself against somebody else.
Yeah, and especially with someone like that who had like their own like strong personality in their own way, you know, like flaunting all of their achievements in other people's faces. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. You know, it's
just flaunting it, just being aware of it, that he was just so crisp and perfect all the time that, you know, everybody knows somebody like that. You know, everybody knows Mr. Fucking Perfect. I remember an episode. I know this is a tangent, and I apologize, but this is fun.
Ahead.
Pete and Pete. Remember the Adventures of Pete?
Oh my God,
Pete?
that show is amazing. My favorite character was Mom's Plate.
There was an episode where there was this like Mr. Perfect guy, and he did everything correctly, and one of the Pete's challenged him. He's like, I know how to get him. He's like, eat this barbecued chicken.
Oh wait, it was a sloppy Joe, wasn't it?
I want to say it was a chicken.
All right.
He ate this chicken, and after he ate everything perfectly with like an all-white suit or something like that, right? He didn't get barbecue sauce anywhere. He was absolutely perfect and meticulous, and he puts like the whole skeleton back together after he's eaten it. It's all perfect. And he's like, you completely did it wrong. Like, you're supposed to get messy. You're supposed to throw the bones. You're supposed to not care. You're supposed to enjoy it. And he was like, oh, he had like this breakdown because, because he was too perfect with this barbecue chicken. It's like, that made a long lasting impression on me.
That's really funny. But like that, something like that totally makes sense. Cause it's like, you know, it proves a point. It's like, it's okay to like go outside the lines. It's okay to think outside the box. You don't have to, you know, stick to like a conformed thing. I mean, as long as you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting anybody, you're not going out of your way to like insult anyone physically or mentally, you know, have fun, enjoy life. You don't have to stick to, you know, a specific set.
I guess that's my big takeaway from it is like, I think I probably had a lot more fun in college than Troy. I mean, that guy. Troy's not watching. But
that's fun.
I don't even remember his last name, so it's fine.
Troy McClure.
Troy McClure. Hi, I'm Troy.
Troy McClure.
You may remember me from
I love
engineering school. But getting back to what we were saying, confidence in creation is something that I have a lot of fun socially, whereas it's a little bit different. Part of creating is performing, where there are certain forms of creation where performance doesn't matter as much. I mean, I imagine that if you're sculpting, for example, you get one shot at that. Or for me, I've been doing a lot of construction and carpentry. So you always want to, if you're going to mess up, you better be short on carpentry. Because if you go long, there's nothing you can do about it. You can ruin an entire piece. You can short on a cut, meaning leaving extra material, because you can always go back and cut a little bit more. You can always go back and cut a little bit more.
But if you cut too much, it's gone forever.
You can always take away any of these subtractive creationism. You know, you can take away a little bit, but you can't add anything to it. Where It's kind of the opposite of cooking, I guess you could say. Cooking is a good example in the other way. You can always add a little bit more spice. You can always add a little bit more spice, but you can't ever take any salt out. You know,
Yeah.
that's the opposite of it, of like zeroing into something very slowly and getting something perfect. That kind of performance, I'm not always the best at. And that's been my biggest lack of confidence. That's been my battlefield, if you will.
Oh.
The last year and a half is since Psychostick has stopped being on the road playing as much shows and stuff. I've needed another outlet, something to do, and I've been working with a couple friends doing this construction and doing any kind of contracting and a lot of carpentry. So working with
So you're
this
working with a
wood,
lot of wood.
I'm a big fan of wood. All kinds of wood: softwood, hardwood, light wood, heavy wood.
Wah, wah.
Heavy. There's that subtractive creation, knowing that if you're going to mess something up, you better make sure that you have a little bit left over so that you can take a little bit off, take a little bit off, take a little bit off. Because once you go too far, there's nothing you can do. And the problem I have with that, why that hurts my confidence and diminishes my confidence, is because when I make that mistake, you see it. It's measurable. My boss can see it. God forbid a customer or homeowner sees it. There's nothing like failure in front of a crowd or failure in front of prying eyes that can touch your confidence like that. I don't care if you've been doing something for 50 fucking years. If you mess something up, you don't want anyone to see that.
Especially with something like that, that's a visual, like you're literally seeing it. Because
it can cost money.
Especially if if you say you're working with like really expensive or rare, like delicate wood,
lumber's expensive right now in general because of everything that's been going on. You don't want to have to spend another hour or two going back to a store to get one piece of wood to finish something, knowing that your boss just lost money, or I'm going to have to pay for it and lose money and lose time, and the customer loses confidence. It's a whole downward spiral waiting to happen. Whereas musically, on the other hand, I can mess up a note in front of a crowd of 10,000 people, and it doesn't matter as long as the next ones look good. A Psychostick, I want to call it a rule, but a going tradition is basically if someone fucks up a note, everyone looks at them and makes a funny face, and you just kind of look back and like, "Oh, what was that?" Even I know that sucked. Because if you take it too seriously and pretend like nothing happened, the crowd fucking knows. Everyone heard that note. The rest of your band heard that note. All it takes is one guy who are like, and then everyone's like, have fun with it. And that's the difference. If I flub a note, I'm not costing anyone money.
Well, it's also a thing with like a live performance.
I can't fix a note. Sometimes with physical things, there's things to fix. There's things that you have to be more aware of. And there's the big difference for me.
Yeah, with a physical, like a live performance, it's kind of, half the excitement. It's like seeing if the band can like play everything articulately, or like even if you do have that mistake, that's something that's unique to that one performance. And it's just like, oh, cool. Like, this person is human as well, but it's like you also see a little more of that person's personality.
I love that. That is some of the fun to me of going to a live show. It's like, he messed up. I mess up also. Yay, he's human just like me. It's like we have something in common. And then by that mistake, you've inadvertently connected with people.
Exactly. And
it's easy to forget that and get in your own head and get mad at it or something and be like, dude, that was awesome. I can't tell you how many times each of us in Psychostick, and I've seen this for any band, when somebody be like, dude, you guys were so awesome tonight. I've seen you 10 times. The show was fantastic tonight. And be like, really? Because I thought, the bass was too low and the treble was too high and he sounded funny and I kept fucking up notes and the sound guy was drunk and everything. It gets really easy to nitpick all these things when one person who's watching is like, this was awesome.
Yeah, it's like something you said earlier. It's about the importance of perspective. It's like you're in the moment. You're looking at it, as an artist, you're looking at it from the music perspective. You're looking at it from the performance perspective. Like, you have put your heart and soul into creating this song, this music, and like it's not just a song for you. Like, there's a little bit of like your your essence, your person, your soul in this creation. And it's like, if the slightest thing goes wrong, okay, you can laugh it off, but sometimes you're just like hard on yourself. But like you just said, if someone in the audience saw you perform and like they took in the entire experience from their perspective, like they're seeing things and they're connecting with you in a unique, way that was only that only could happen at that one show. So how does outside how do like outside influences such as like talking to audience members or fans, how does that affect your confidence?
I mean, it goes both ways, and I wish I really would. Of course, I mean, it's kind of an obvious answer. If you have enough people coming up to you and saying that was awesome, you were fantastic, you're a great bass player, you're my favorite bass player.
Just
oh my
stroking
God,
your ego a little bit.
Yeah, just the full strip, two-handed strokes, just no gag reflex, just pure ego buffing. If that happens enough, that can affect someone in not a good way. I've seen that happen with a lot of guys in bands that they think their shit don't stink, and eventually people get to that point and very rarely do they realize it, and the bigger they get and the bigger their ego gets, the harder it is to crack,
So that
in
a
productive way. Whereas if somebody does crack that ego, it's usually a gigantic fucking meltdown, but in the other sense, I can have, and this proves, I'm human and I have my own battlefield, as it were, that 100 people could tell me it was a great show, right? And if one asshole comes up to me, and this happened on my stream. I've been streaming the past almost for a year now, just performing by myself, playing bass, playing acoustic guitar, singing, having fun, creating some songs, doing a lot of covers and stuff. And every once in a while, someone comes on and be like, your voice isn't good enough to do that song.
Oh my God.
Or your voice isn't high enough. You can't hit those notes. What are you doing? And I just want to be like, man, I've raised all this money for charity. I've done
You're literally doing stuff for the community.
Hundreds of hours of entertainment for hundreds of people around the world, trying to put smiles on people's faces, teaching people lessons, trying to make people come together and build a community. And all it takes is that one asshole with one fucking comment, and I lose my shit. I don't get mad at myself because I am aware of myself. And it is, I don't know, are you a Game of Throneser? I was real big on the Game of Thrones. Tyrion had an awesome quote. He tells Jon Snow, you're a bastard. Like, everybody knows it. Use that. He says, know what you are. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used against you. And that's the truth. I know I don't have an awesome voice.
That is a great line. That is a great advice.
It really is. Thank you, George R. Martin. I don't know where he got that from, but fucking God bless him, man. I love that. And it's the truth. I know I'm not the best. I know I'm not the prettiest. I know I'm not the skinniest. I know I'm not the nicest. I know I'm not the most observant. I'm not the most anything.
But the thing
is, that's okay.
But the thing is,
that's all right.
You are the best you, because there is only one you, and that's what makes you special. It's the fact that you are the only one that could be you. That's the beautiful thing about, everybody. There is just one of us. Even identical twins who are
to swallow. That's
identical.
Tough. That's tough to process that and really integrate that. Even just hearing you say that, I appreciate that, and I feel all warm and fuzzy, and I just feel like, again, as a defense mechanism, like, no, I'm not.
I think a big part of it is the fact that, like, we're so, we're social animals, like, instinctively, and I think that comes from having that, pack mentality that we've had for, a million years since the first like human like existed. It was meant to be a mode of survival. And then as we became more and more aware and developed, personalities, like really, and we became self-aware, that's when that started to like really like flourish. And I think we still have a little bit of that, like pack mentality and that social.
It's absolutely programmed in us.
So and I think it's also shunned upon to like look at yourself in that kind of way because it could be deemed as selfish because you're taking the time to go, oh, I'm recognizing the uniqueness that is me. I'm recognizing.
Do you hear that? I'm sorry.
What? To hear what?
Okay. No, this is a very strange sound that just occurred. I'm sorry to derail you.
It's all good. Maybe one of the microphones is haunted.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome. And our next guest, the ghost of Christmas past.
Please welcome White Noise. No, but I agree. It is very difficult because to be considered polite or socially acceptable, you don't want to deal with someone who thinks that their shit don't stink. And there's a fine line between that. Being comfortable with yourself and being a fucking asshole to other people.
Great.
There are some very, very confident people that I know. I literally just dealt with this shit today and yesterday with a friend of mine. Good friend of mine. Such a the word that came to me today is he's a fucking peacock.
Oh.
He is a peacock. He loves to show off. He loves to walk around with his shirt off. He loves to wear things and be fancy and show off this stuff. But he's got like no self-esteem. So I want to make that clear. There are very confident people.
There are people that carry themselves
very low of themselves.
They carry themselves confidently, but they themselves are not confident. It's funny that like you have that's a thing is you have people who are so they're so flashy, like you said, like they peacock. They're so overt. They come off as extroverted in like a materialistic kind of way, but deep inside they actually don't have that confidence. And I think it's fascinating that you are personally extroverted, where you just you love connecting with people in general. You love trying new things. You love trying to solve things. You have a very inquisitive mind, and you use that extrovertedness to generally connect with people. But you're very confident in your actions. But it sounds like your friend is very extroverted in a physical, materialistic way, where he doesn't connect with people on an emotional level, where he uses these things to connect with people or get people's attention.
I think he fills depression. I don't mean like, clinical depression, where like you're really like sad and stuff. I mean like his inner landscape of a depression. He fills those valleys, he fills those holes with other things that are kind of fleeting. So because we were both fat kids together. That's how we kind of became friends as kids, right? I'm still a pretty portly guy. I lost a lot of weight on tour for a while, and after I stopped touring, I gained a bunch of weight back. And you know what? I'm okay with it because I know I'm enjoying my life. I know I'm not morbidly obese. I know that my gut having a little bulge in my, it was kind of tough for me going from large. I have an extensive collection of band t-shirts. Almost all of them are size large. Having to go to extra large was crushing. It was soul crushing. I can't wear any of my favorite band shirts anymore. Like that was an existential crisis with me. That, oh no, I can't wear all of these shirts I spent all this money on.
That's so funny.
It's like, dude, it doesn't make me a bad person.
No, not at all.
I can get more shirts. It's fine. I hang them on the wall. Yeah. I got them all laying all over the place. It's cool. That's all right. With him, he had a poor relationship with his parents. He had a poor self-image, so he works out constantly. And it's the same thing I was talking about that college guy. It's like, well, is it fun? Are you truly enjoying life trying to compete with this other notion of yourself that you'll never be? Like if you're fat and you think, well, if I'm not fat, I'll be happy. And then you work really hard and then you're all muscly and shit and you peacock this shit and you're still not happy.
Was
it fucking worth it?
Yeah, at that point, you have to like stop and reassess what you're doing.
Yeah, was it worth all that depression? Was it worth all that self-loathing? To me, it's like, fuck it, I just don't care anymore. If somebody doesn't like me because I can't hit that high note, or because I have to wear an extra large now, I got a little bulge right here.
But that's on them.
I don't need them.
Yeah, and that goes back to touching on what we were talking about earlier, where it's where you analyze yourself compared to like other people and other people's standards. Where in a situation like that, if someone doesn't like your singing voice, that's all right. You don't need to. You don't need to
change the channel.
It is what it is. I happen to not like James LaBrie's singing voice. Dream Theater is still one of the most successful like metal bands ever.
Dude,
it is what it is.
Super Samesies.
High five.
Was it Liquid Tension Experiment, right?
See, that I love.
Yeah.
Probably unpopular opinion, but I think that Russell Allen from Symphony X should be the singer for Dream Theater, and I think that band would be amazing.
I think that's a healthy assessment, and as long as you don't go out of your way to tell James LaBrie that, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
You know.
If I ever meet James LaBrie, I'm gonna be like, you know what,
But if you go on his fucking podcast and in the comments be like, you shouldn't be singing for Dream Theater.
That would make me a dick.
You're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, it's like I have an opinion. You know, it is what it is. I'm not going to like I recognize the fact that he is a phenomenal singer. He's a phenomenal musician. Like, I am not disputing that. I just personally do not like the timbre of his voice.
And I realize in this setting, that's completely fine. You're not hurting anybody by saying that. And I realize the guy that told me, oh, you can't hit those high notes or whatever, there's a good chance that I was doing a good enough job at everything else I was doing as a whole that he felt threatened somehow.
And
so
he was just
he felt this need to defend himself by poking a hole in my shit and trying to bring me down a notch to make himself feel better. And I'm okay with that. Just don't do that. You're a fucking asshole. You know, it's the same thing. If that's how you're going to react, go somewhere else and do it. But I gotta try better for myself and my own mental being to not let those people poke a hole in me. Because that's kind of how I started on that, bringing it back full circle, is 100 people can tell me how awesome it is or send me messages in private. You know, and those messages mean a lot to me. I get emails from people. I get emails from fans. I get emails from watchers and listeners that say, hey, man, you know, I've been going through a really tough time. Showing up here every Monday and Friday has really helped me. I've met good friends. I've talked to people. I've gotten shit off my chest. I'm part of a community that I really needed. Thank you for this, you know, where I can get several of those a week. And that one guy saying, your falsetto kind of sucks, dude.
Yeah, that's gonna stick with you for like
forget
a month.
About all that other good shit. It's
crazy.
Tough. That's a battle, man. That's a battle in myself, and I'm 35 and I'm still not good at it. I'm still trying to get better at it.
It's crazy how much like that kind of shit really like sits with like anyone.
My poor girlfriend has to deal with that shit. She's the best mid-deal. She'd be like, who fucking cares? Fuck that guy. I was like, yeah, I know you're right.
You're just like,
oh God, how can he say that? Stop. Let it go. Here's some chicken. You know?
Ooh,
like,
chicken?
I'm in. It's like I need people like that in my life. You know, it's not just me. I still can't get over that shit myself. Sometimes I need my mom or you or a message from a fan or my girlfriend and friends and family and a support structure. Even someone as confident as I might be, I still rely on a support structure internally and externally.
Well, like that's something really important I think you bring up, is the fact that having that support system is so important. One of the things I mentioned at the beginning of the episode is that like your self-confidence can be affected by external factors, by like the people you're around. Like if you're in one or multiple situations where you're not getting that emotional support that, everyone needs because we're social creatures, like it has an effect. Like you said, that one guy that you had no idea who it was on a random fucking stream was like, you're not hitting those notes. That fucked you up for a bit. But like, if you have that constant support of like your,
I'm still mad about it. I don't know if you can tell.
Oh man,
I'm still.
I'm just imagining you like, got fists underneath. Well, like it goes a long way if you have that support system at home with your friends or even like at work.
And it really sucks if you don't.
Dude, it really does. Or like even if you feel that you don't, because a lot of times like people can have that support system, but like
very true,
they don't necessarily feel confident enough to open up to people to be like, hey, this is bothering me, which I think is another issue. A lot of people, like I personally have had this issue for a really long time where I didn't feel confident enough to open up to other people if something was bothering me. You know, I adopted this.
I know a lot of people like that.
This
You're
rescuer role.
and you are very much in league with many other people, which
Yeah,
is hard to do. And
yeah,
because you can't open up and do that. And there's so many people that feel exactly the same way that can't talk to each other and can't fit themselves into that community and feel good about it. And that sucks, man.
yeah. It definitely. I
That's
mentioned to
tough.
you when we were talking in private, where a few months ago I started going to a therapist for like the first time in my life.
And good for you. I wholeheartedly encourage everybody to go to therapy, even if you don't fucking think you need it. I bet you do,
Dude,
motherfucker.
it
Just give it a
really
try. It's
it
good. It's
really
good for you.
helps because even though if you have that support system, you know, with like your friends and family, you know, just to have that unbiased opinion, someone that you can talk to that isn't going to judge you, you know, one way or another, someone that you don't have to worry about, you know, the value of the relationship, because the whole dynamic is that you're there to literally just share your thoughts and feelings, and they're there for you to work through it. And it's not like, you know, you're talking to your best friend and like you're just frustrated with something that they did, you know, they're going to get upset. Or if you just happen to have opposing viewpoints, you know, they might be like, oh, why would you think that? If you're talking to a therapist, you're working through stuff.
Yeah.
But the point I was making is that, like, when I was going to therapy, she pointed out that there's something called the drama triangle, where a lot of people will fall into one of three categories, where there's the rescuer, there's the victim, and then there's the persecutor. And each of those people, you know, each of those personalities has like a specific role to play. And like once she like pointed that out, I recognized like all of these things that I had been doing with like romantic relationships, with just regular friendships with family members. And like I just approached every single relationship that I had, whether it was romantic or platonic, in a certain way. But I never, but by in doing so, I closed off myself emotionally, and I lost my confidence to open up and share with other people, to be like, hey, you know, I need help because I need to work through things.
It's the truth. And talking about those support systems, that's one of the things that I've personally tried to do with Psychostick and with streaming, that I'm glad, and I really hope that this stream does the same. And best of luck with it, JD. Thanks for having me on, if I didn't say it before.
Well, thank you very much for, you know, being here, man.
That no one is alone, and if you're watching this or listening to this right now, you're part of a community, whether you know it or not. And
Yeah.
it's very difficult. I learned recently about imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
People that have any measure of success or any measure of good things happening can feel like they don't deserve it, like they're an imposter in some way.
Yeah.
That's very tough to get over. I suffer from that a lot too, especially with, you know, whenever somebody comes up and says, you know, that, let's say the support structure of those fans, right, that come up after a show and tell us how awesome we were, how good we did or whatever. It's hard for me to accept that, but it's easier for me to glaze over that and be like, all right, cool, buy a shirt. You know what I mean? And kind of flip that into something else. It's hard for me to take the praise.
Yeah.
But easier to talk to someone and try and build a personal connection with someone. The
seems,
imposter syndrome. Sorry, what?
I was going to say, it seems like that imposter syndrome is a common thing within just the entertainment community, whether you're a musician, an actor, an artist in general. It's just like, especially if you're trying to do it as a career, not just like as a hobby. Like, you know, we're doing this as a career. This is our job. This is like our, you know, what we do for a living.
All the eggs are in this basket.
And it's like you said, there are times when it just, you're doing all this stuff and like you, in your head, you're just like, I'm a regular person. You know, I collect money to pay for the roof over my head. I pay taxes. You know, I have a car. Like you know, you have a family and a house you just bought, and you do the things that like everybody does. So like when you get all this
once or twice a day, if I'm lucky.
I mean, that's nice, because if you stop pooping, you should definitely go to the
guy, man. I'm just a dude.
You're a pooping dude.
I'm a pooping dude. Hopefully a pooping dude.
But like it's weird, like you said, when you play a show, like you're up on stage, you're just like, you're in the moment, you're like, not like the world melts away and like the magic of being on stage is a thing. But the second you get off stage, it's like
magic,
you're back to being the pooping dude. And like when people come up to you and they're still in the moment because they're at the show, they're at the place, they're at the event, and they're just in event mode. And they're seeing you, who they've been following from the internet for however long they've been following you, and they're still in that moment. You're just like, I gotta pay taxes soon. Like it's a weird, it's a weird thing because like you, in your eyes, like in their eyes, you're like an idol sometimes, and then you're literally just living in some level of fame and notoriety, but like you don't feel like you earned it because you're still just a regular person. And I think, like you said, the issue with imposter syndrome is that like, you have to find a balance. It's like you deserve this because this is what you want, and this is what you're working for. But at the same time, it's like finding a balance between that and like reality.
Well, there's a double whammy there too, because with imposter syndrome, you feel like you don't deserve, when you say people like idolize, right? They put you up a level. They're putting you on some sort of pedestal. They're putting you on this thing that's like, oh, you're better than some other people. That's basically what they're doing mentally, socially. Yeah. We're constructed in tiers, that they're putting you up on this high tier. And imposter syndrome is thinking, I don't deserve to be up on this tier. Now, the other side to that, which only makes this worse, is when I feel like, yeah, I am in this band. Yeah, I have put 11 years into this band. I have played 800 shows. I've worked my ass off. I've gone through all this shit. I've earned this, right? When you neglect the other side that isn't imposter syndrome, where I'm like, yeah, I am a musician. I have done all this. I am maybe a little bit better than a bass player than half of the people walking around on the planet Earth. Like, okay, yeah, I have a small majority over these certain things. What sucks is having to live up to that somehow. If someone puts you on a pedestal, if someone inflates whatever tier that you're on socially, now it's my obligation to fulfill that, whether I want it or not. I can't tell you how many times, this is my secret weapon, right? People will be like, oh, what do you do? I'll be like, well, what's your job? I don't like saying I'm the bass player for a band called Psychostick. I loved that the first couple of years, right? That felt really good. But then once I actually came in and like earned that, I feel like really emotionally earned that title. I tell people, oh, I do merchandising for bands on the road. And then I get way less questions. I get way less.
Because that sounds
like, oh, really? You're in a band? What band? Is it a cool band? Are you on the road? Do you know Slipknot? Do you know that? And it just becomes this like really overbearing focus that I don't want 90% of the time, So it just kind of becomes a thing when someone's like, oh, you work for a band? What band? I'll be like, I work for a comedy metal band. And then another half of the time, people will be like, oh, that sounds cool. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. And they'll go to the other thing. And then the other 50%, they're like, oh, comedy metal. What's that like? I'm like, oh, fuck.
It's
all
funny.
Right, here we go. It's kind of like Weird Al, but a little bit heavier, and we have a lot of fun. I'm like, oh, really? Like what? Like what band is it? What band do you work for? I'd be like, Psychostick. Wait, Psychostick. Are you in Psychostick? I'd be like, yeah, I'm the
You're
bass
like,
player.
I am the Psychostick.
It's like, all right, cool. Now we're full-blown nuclear fanboy or whatever. It's like, oh, man, how do I get out of this? You know what I mean? I don't want to be on this fucking pedestal. I just want to be this guy that's online at a fucking grocery store because I'm hungry and I want to go eat food. So, so there's really both sides to it. There's like, I don't deserve this. And then there's like, fuck, I wish I wasn't this right now because I just want to be that guy, because I don't.
There's also like a time and a place to like, go up to like, celebrities. Like if you're at the grocery store, fanboying, not necessarily maybe like the best time, especially if you're about to like pay for stuff or if you're like at a restaurant. It's like,
I mean, you lived in LA, you get it, right? If you see somebody famous eating dinner with their family, leave them alone. Just they don't care that you like that you like their movie. They don't fucking care. They don't. fucking care.
Within the first
Leave
3
them
months of
alone.
me living in LA, I saw enough celebrities to be like, oh, I'm gonna see somebody. Especially if like on the west side over in like Santa Monica, Brentwood area, like you're gonna see a lot of fucking people. Like
At best, keep it to like 3 seconds, right? If you're on the street, be like, hey man, I love doing so and so, and throw a wave and then keep walking.
yeah,
You know, that's awesome. Cool, thanks, man.
if they got like a mouthful of
that's
fucking
it.
like Alfredo, it's like leave them the fuck alone.
Hey, can I have a picture? Hey, I want to ruin your entire day and derail everything that you were doing and destroy all semblance of privacy that you have in front of you and your family and your kids or your girlfriend or whoever it is. Me, make this all about me. Like, dude, it's not about you. Stop.
Yeah.
Leave them alone.
I believe there was a third perspective of confidence that we did not get to. What was the third one? What were the three? It was
the three that I was saying was creation, any kind of art, like creating an art. I feel very confident in doing music.
It was social creative.
I suck at fucking drawing. I don't have confidence in drawing. I don't have confidence in sculpting, but I have a lot of confidence in music that with enough time and enough guidance and communication with whoever else I'm working with, that I can make something not only work, but make it really good. I have that kind of confidence. But I don't have that kind of confidence in drawing or anything like that. So there is kind of a back and forth. There's a gray area there. The other one is performance. You know, I have a lot of confidence in getting in front of people and performing something, whether it be Psychostick or a side project or something like that, but without practice, without knowing a song. If we know we're going up and we're playing a song that I've never played before, but Psychostick has played 100 times, I don't want to be the asshole to fuck that up. I'm going to have anxiety over that. But if I can get up in front of a room full of people I've never met before at a bar with a couple of friends at an improv night and have a lot of fun, because nobody knows what's going to happen going into it. So that one kind of goes both ways. So there's like the creation, there's the performance, and then there's the non-creative performance. Where
are you talking about like recording?
I think I'm a pretty good driver. You know, I grew up driving in New York City and driving on Long Island and driving on bridges and driving through tunnels and driving to Boston.
So you definitely don't have claustrophobia or a fear of heights or a fear of what?
Totally cool with all that shit. But when it comes to a $900 piece of wood that I have to cut one time in carpentry, fuck me. I'm
mild panic
thinking
attack
about it. So those
you're
three
schwitzing over there.
I can't say that I'm awesome or I'm bad at either one of those things. It all comes down to perspective and what environment, what perspective you have on what environment you're in. And it could be tough sometimes and it could be easy sometimes. And sometimes just recognizing and being able to say, hey man, this makes me uncomfortable. A lot of people don't have that social energy or that social strength to be able to tell somebody else, hey man, this doesn't make me feel comfortable. And this is one of the things I love about my new boss, right? In carpentry. He's a master carpenter. I love it when he can tell me all this shit and he'll be like, do you feel confident making this cut? And I can be like, absolutely not. Can you please do it? And he'll be like, sure, no problem. He doesn't want to, but like, okay, I'm glad you told me. That way I didn't go up there, fuck something up, try to fix it, fuck it up worse, take an hour to do it, and then come back and be like, yeah, we got to go to the store. You know, that's way worse. So there's that communication there that makes it really easy that I don't have to say, boss, I don't want to do this. Because you don't want to tell your boss that you don't want to or you can't do something. Yeah. Nobody wants to tell their boss that, you know? So my boss asking me that really helps out a lot.
It sounds like you have like, it sounds like you have a lot of confidence in yourself in general. So like if you're in a situation where you don't necessarily know how to do something, or you don't feel like your skills are strong enough yet to do, say, like the specific cut, you know, you feel confident in yourself as a person to be like, hey, I am unable to do this. And that's another thing that I think, you know, is worth mentioning, is like having confidence in yourself in order to say, hey, I can't do this, or hey, I don't know how to do this. Because a lot of people, like you mentioned, will just go ahead and try to do something and fuck things up like even worse. Like there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with not being able to do something or not knowing how to do something. It's when you pretend to know how to do something and then do it. That's the issue.
The only way that I've built that confidence, I think, it's not because I'm a confident person. I wouldn't say that. It's because I'm an experienced person. Because I've done that enough times where I don't wanna go to the store and look like an idiot in front of I did it. I've made every mistake. People have asked us about Psychostick, like, how have you gotten so good on tour? Like, you guys got touring down. You're on time. You're clean. You know, you're practiced. You got all the things you need. You don't got any of the bullshit you don't need. And it's like, yeah, because we fucked up enough.
Because we did all that
we've
years
done
ago.
Things really, really bad a bunch to where it's like, hey, let's not do it like this anymore. I wouldn't say that's because I'm confident necessarily in myself. I'm confident in my experience.
But
I
even
think
that
that's more
is like,
important.
you recognize, hey, like if something is done wrong, you have the confidence in yourself to acknowledge that it was done wrong. The point I'm trying to get to is that like people
and that's hard.
people see, messing up or doing something wrong as devaluing themselves.
Oh, I still do, even to this day.
But you're still able to go, hey, I did this wrong or I fucked up, and you're able to take responsibility, and that shows a lot of confidence.
Like,
that shows a
like
lot.
The end of the fucking world to me. Ask my girlfriend. I was in tears calling her the other day. I fucked up a $900 ceiling fan with one fell swoop. Put a huge fucking dent in this motherfucker. It took all day to install this thing and stain it and do all this shit. And I was like, well, there was my week's worth of pay. I was like, I fucked this up so bad, and I was so nervous. I was like, I hope I don't get fired. I hope my boss doesn't get fired, all this shit. The next day, show up, the owner of the house was like, fuck it. If you can't fix it, we'll just say it got broken in transit. I don't care. It's like the coolest dude ever. And I couldn't accept it.
You're just like,
no, yell at me, scream at me, whip me for being a bad boy.
Pulls out a whip and a gimp mask.
Not always the end of the world. You know what I mean? Even the smallest things can feel like the end of the world. And that's something I struggle with too.
Listen, you didn't get hurt. They didn't get hurt. No one got dead. No one got seriously maimed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's just the thing.
Pretty much what my boss said. He said it was an oopsie. Let's just let's try not to oopsie. No more oopsies on this job. I was like, I love that he called it an oopsie. This master carpenter. It's like, I feel like a fucking 5-year-old right now. I was like, it was just an oopsie. It's okay. It's okay. Just
hand you an ice cream cone.
You want a popsicle? You want an ice pop?
Yes.
Let's have an ice pop. Please. Calm down.
Well, it's been like 8 million degrees, so an ice pop. Yes.
Yeah.
All the ice pops. Are those like the fucking the icicle ones that are in like the plastic things that like cut your lips?
Yeah, I love those, man.
They're delicious, but like you get like the Chelsea green from.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
No, I don't want a green one. I want a blue one.
Listen, it's all about the orange one. Let's be serious here. Oh God, man.
Blue and orange. A couple of New Yorkers listen to us.
It's very New York Islanders. And
subliminal messages.
I just can't let the ghost of my grandfather find out because he's a very big Yankees fan.
That's fine. Hey, tip my hat to the old man.
Yeah. Well, Matty, thank you so much for taking the time to have this wonderful, in-depth, and insightful conversation about confidence and your whole take on it.
Hey, man, we do this on the phone anyway. I'm glad we recorded it for other people to hear this time.
Yeah, me too. And an hour shorter than most of the conversations.
I would love to be a part of this anytime. Let me know. This is awesome. Best of luck.
I would very much love to have you back again. Obviously we'll talk about like another topic or another idea, something that's going on with you, with me.
And I'll reciprocate. I'll have you on my stream too when I start back up next month.
I would absolutely love to be a guest and hang out with the Matty Jam time.
We could talk about that awesome Wrath of Khan shirt that you're
You know what? I specifically wore this shirt for you today, and I was waiting for you to comment on it at some point.
I was like, don't do it. I was like, I'm saving this to the end. I don't want to bust into this and derail everything.
No, this shirt was worn for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, in closing, I want to say that I truly believe that the more that we as a society feel comfortable opening up about our struggles, and the more that we help others to realize that they are not alone. Everyone has their inner strength to face, everyone has their inner strength to face whatever life puts along their path. So thank you to anyone that was hanging out with us, anyone that sat down to watch and listen to this. You guys are amazing. If anyone watching finds that they are struggling with their mental health, please do not be afraid to reach out to any of your friends, your family, or a mental health professional. I'll have a link in the description of this video that will have some information and connection for further resources. Until next time, remember that you can conquer your battlefield.